So at the point where average variable cost equals marginal cost, that's called the shutdown point. Okay. All right. Well, let's think about this just a minute. At various prices above the shutdown point, that gives us the price and the quantity combination that this firm, and then if again this is just 1/1000th of the market, so all the other firms added together in terms of their quantity decisions. Remember, they're price takers, so that's out of their hand deciding what price to set. That's set by the overall market condition. But the supply curve for the individual firm is nothing more than just the marginal cost curve above average variable cost, above the shutdown point, because that traces out the price quantity combinations. That is the supply curve in the short run for the representative firm. Then we could just sum all those supply curves together to get the market supply curve. So let's think about what's going on here now in the short run and the long run. If the typical or representative firm is earning an economic profit, then that says that they're earning greater profits than what they could otherwise in other industries. Economic profit includes opportunity cost in the calculation, which I really didn't spell out in that video on cost that I showed out. So that says that they're doing pretty well, the representative firm. So that's a signal for other firms in other industries that are not doing as well that can do so to jump into this market. Well, when enough firms do that, guess what? Now, instead of being 1,000 firms, maybe there's 1,100 or whatever. Well, what happens to supply when there's a greater number of producer sellers? The supply typically increases. Well, what's that going to do to the market price? It's going to cause the market price to fall. Okay. Well, as long as though that price quantity combination, quantity I'm talking about, profit maximizing quantity, yields for the typical firm profits, that's going to provide an incentive for additional firms to jump into the market and pressure on the price to drop. Let's think about the alternative, though. What will happen if the typical or representative firm is earning economic losses? Well, they're going to hang on, but surely no other firms in other industries would want to jump in because they're doing as well or maybe even better. So there's not an increase in supply. The firms currently in the market are just hanging on. What if the price goes down just a little so that now we're below the shutdown point? Firms will be jumping out of this industry, going into other markets. And so there will be a decrease in supply. And with enough firms jumping out of this market, what's going to happen to supply is going to decrease, which, other things being equal, would lead to an increase in the price. So we're going to see movement in and out of this market. If there are positive economic profits, more firms are going to jump in. That's not a stable equilibrium, if you will. If there are economic losses, especially if they're deep enough that the firm is seeing their total costs being greater than total revenue by more than their overhead and variable costs together, they're going to jump out. And so that's not a stable point either. The only point of stability, or we'll call this equilibrium, would be, and this would be long run equilibrium because of the dynamics. Short run equilibrium, by the way, would just be marginal revenue equals marginal cost. But long run equilibrium then would be the point where there are zero economic profits. Be no incentive for firms to get in, no incentive for firms to get out. That would be a stable point, or we would call that equilibrium. So we can see that the dynamics work in terms of profits, sending a signal to the firms in a PC, a perfectly competitive industrial organization or market structure, to either get in to this particular market or to jump out. So in terms of stability, it's the point where marginal revenue is equal to average total cost is equal to marginal cost. And so at that point, we already know that price equals D, demand equals average revenue, and in a PC equals marginal revenue. But then we have marginal cost and average total cost. All those are equal at the long run equilibrium point. By the way, in long run, we'd actually do away with this average variable cost curve because by definition, all inputs would be variable. But uh, getting to long run in the short run, if you will, I guess, um, we would be at this point. So critical that you understand that all this alphabet soup of relationships will be true if the PC market is in equilibrium in the long run. Okay, so let's think about some of these relationships. The fact that marginal cost is equal to average total cost in the long run for a PC, that means recall that where MC equals ATC, that represents the minimum point on ATC. So that says that we being the firm, we are being efficient in production. We're operating at the lowest average or per unit cost possible. That's called productive or technical efficiency. Then we can also look at the fact that the price, remember price is equal to demand, equal revenue, average revenue equals marginal revenue in a PC, that the price is equal to marginal cost. Remember that's profit maximization. Well, the fact that the price equals marginal cost says that amount that the consumer will be willing to pay, willing and able to pay for that last unit purchased is exactly how much it costs that firm to bring that last unit to the market by producing and selling it. And so we say that the marginal benefit and marginal cost of bringing that last unit to the market is equal. And so we call that allocative efficiency. In other words, that's the correct amount that matches the benefits with the cost in bringing this product to the market and it being sold. So there are two types of efficiencies in the PC in the long run. There's productive or technical efficiency. That's having to do with the operating at the lowest point on the average total cost curve. That would be MC equals ATC. And then there's also allocative efficiency. That's marginal cost is equal to the price. Now, in the long run, all inputs are variable, and we just saw a long run equilibrium at a temporary point, if you will. But then the firm, if they're looking at future production, they might want to scale up or they might want to scale down. Well, when they scale up, if those costs, and this would relate back to that discussion about cost in the long run, if those costs don't really change for the typical firm, that constant cost industry, then those cost curves from the short run, outside of taking out the average variable cost curve, will remain the same. And so that price quantity combination, the price will not change for the quantities. And so that would relate to a long run market supply curve that is perfectly elastic. In other words, be flat at that same price. But if the typical firm is actually experiencing economies of scale, as they get bigger, they can actually lower their cost. So that average total cost curve and also the marginal cost curve is dropping as they scale up and produce more. That would be decreasing cost industries. And this is actually a case where the supply curve could have a negative slope. Each firm can sell more, and when they can sell more, their costs are going down. And so the price will tend to go down because, again, if they don't drop their price for their product, then other firms coming in will. So there's that market pressure on the prices. On the other hand, if we're experiencing diseconomies of scales, we being the firms, as they scale up, their cost curves actually jump up, go up vertically, and actually it'd be horizontally as they're scaling up too, but they're going up. That would be increasing cost industries, and the supply curve would be the typical shape, like what we talked about. It would have a positive slope. So, very important fundamentally that you understand a perfectly competitive market. Now, at the first, I said this is one end of the spectrum. In reality, there's very few firms, if any, that operate in a pure, true, perfectly competitive environment. But this is a good marker. This is the way we can compare the real world against the hypothetical world, if you will. So that's the way you want to think about it.